Welcome everyone to my talk. Thank you for being here till the end. I'm hoping I don't disappoint you with my talk today. I'm pretty sure we all recognize words like bug. You can show your hands if you've heard that word before. What about debug, firewall? Yeah, okay. So we're on a good start here. That's what I'm going to be talking about today. We have a lot of these words we use in tech that we don't really know their origins or how they form part of our lingo today. And some of these have very interesting stories, so that's what I'm going to talk about today. My name is Adjoa. I'm a developer at CINQ, a creative at heart. And when I'm not developing or creating things, I'm brewing my next batch of kombucha at home. If you don't know what kombucha is, it's fermented tea. It's like your natural carbonated drink. I make that at home. It's healthy, it's good for your microbiome. And I am really intrigued by languages and words and the origins. And it's great because in tech we have a lot of those. So I'm gonna just walk through a few examples. The first one we're gonna talk about is the one we're all waiting for, the bug. And right underneath the screen you can see I've made a little pretty progress bar. Green circle means that's something that's ongoing. I'm still talking about it. And the blue ones are yet to be uncovered. And when it's done, you'd see a check, well, like a checkbox there. So a bug, we all know what a bug is. You know, it's an insect. It's usually annoying, like a mosquito. You don't want it around you, so you just tap it away. And the same term is used in... We all saw that, but...
When you open the windows.
Yeah. That's my real life demonstration. The same thing is used to describe technical glitches in tech. And the first time a technical glitch was named a bug was in this Harvard Mark II computer. And at that time, there was something went wrong. I don't know exactly what went wrong, but we'll figure it out soon. And this lady called Grace Hopper, she was assigned to investigate what was going wrong. And she discovered a bug, a moth that was stuck in the actual computer. So she took it out, taped it, and that sheet right there is also a record of the first debugging that ever happened. And I think it's also pretty cool because she was a woman. Next, I want to talk about the word spam, but not this spam, the spam you see in your email box. The word came about from a Monty Python sketch, and in that sketch, there was a restaurant menu with everything on that menu containing spam. And the customer couldn't order anything. She was quite annoyed because everything had spam on it. Spam, 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 spam. And she had no other, and it just went on. That term was taken into the technological world, into online forums and chat groups in the early, I would say 2000s. And the word spam would be entered repetitively to get rid of messages that are quite important and relevant. So that's how the word spam stayed in our email boxes. Now I want to talk about ping, and not the ping pong that we know, but this ping. I pinged my own website as an example. Ping is a software utility, it's on your computer, it's everywhere, and it's used to troubleshoot network problems. It calculates the round trip time from the host to the server. And the guy who actually wrote that utility is called Mike Muse. That's a picture of him. And he was inspired by the sound that an active sonar makes in deep sea when it spots a submarine. It's a very loud, high-pitched sound. It sounds nothing like a ping, but it's called a ping. I think he was quite fascinated by it. That's why he named his utility Ping as well. ping also, or could also mean packet internet grouper, although he said in his blog, he mentioned that this is just a coincidence and a back acronym to the word ping, but I think it sounds better to call it ping from the submarines. And now I want to talk about cookies, and not the baked treats that you see here, but browser cookies. So browser cookies are simple packages of messages that a website stores on your browser. That way, when you come back to your shopping website, your basket is not emptied. Browser cookies were inspired by magic cookies. And magic cookies, not the cookies you know in Amsterdam, but magic cookies is a term used in Unix, or like Linux, to describe packets of data that are transferred between computers or servers, and they remain unchanged. The concept is from a fortune cookie. So in a way, browser cookies are also related to real-life cookies. The first instance of a browser that featured cookies was Netscape. This version was in 1994. I was just about born, so I don't recall using it. But if you did, I'm pretty sure you saw, or you may have used the cookies. And now I want to talk about firewall. Firewall is really what you think it is. It's just a firewall. There's nothing too fancy there. But firewall has a bit of an ancient history. The idea was to keep intruders out, or to prevent people breaking in, or fire spreading out. And with the help of AI, I managed to generate this Great Wall of China because I wanted the purple aesthetic to fit. So this is the Great Wall of China. The idea is pretty simple. It prevented the northern intruders getting into the Chinese territory. Kings built tall walls around their castles as well. Also another AI image. And the concept is the same, keeping intruders out. But interestingly enough, you also had old coal trains that had an iron firewall that prevented the passenger car from catching fire in case the coal blew out. The concept is pretty much the same in the firewall we know today in networking. It's meant to stop intruders from getting into your network and sniffing out data. And interestingly enough, the first firewall technology that was created was called a packet filter. It did exactly that, filtered out the packets that went back and forth. And that laid groundwork for a lot of for all the firewall technology we know today. Now, I want to ask you to show your hands if you know what this is. What about this? It's an old radio. And this is an old car radio. I'm still quite young, but I do recall seeing this. And how this works is pretty simple. You preset your favorite radio stations on all the buttons. And when you press 1, you can listen to your radio station, but you can only press 1 at a time. The other ones pop right back up. Or the other one pops right back up. And in tech, or in the UI world, there's one other thing that works similarly. It's also called radio buttons. You are offered a bunch of options and you're only allowed to pick one at a time. It can't be more than that. And the first time radio buttons was featured in a computer was in this computer developed by Xerox PARC. Xerox PARC is a research and development company, and they were responsible for, or they are responsible for, a lot of technology we use and we know today. And in the first UI, or one of the first UIs, they had radio buttons in there. That's an actual computer of Xerox PARC, but there isn't the radio buttons in there, so we can assume it's there. It still works. Staying in the UI sphere, I want to talk about the mouse. And did you know the first mouse was named the XY position indicator for a display system? So imagine I asked you, could you please pass me my XY position indicator for display system? I'm pretty sure you'd be as confused as she is. The first iteration of a mouse looked like this. It was very simple. It's a wooden box with two wheels underneath, a red clicker and a wire. And it was developed by this guy called Douglas Engelbart. He registered a patent for it. And in this picture you can see him presenting the mother of all demos. And if you're down that YouTube wormhole, please check it out. It's a 90-minute long demo of this guy using the mouse, showing you how to copy text, type it out, do all sorts of text manipulation and things on your computer, things we take for granted today. It's pretty interesting. But at that time, the mouse didn't really gain popularity until Apple released this first personal computer that was sold for, us normal people. And this computer was in 1983, and it had a keyboard. It had a much better upgraded version of a mouse. And I want to know, how much do you think this computer would cost at that time? Can you drop some guesses? I can help you. Well, this is like the specs of that computer. And it's in 1983. It had a keyboard and a mouse. I'll help you. It cost $9,995, and it's equivalent to about 30K, maybe 31 considering inflation now. I was gonna put a picture here of a floppy disk and ask who has seen this before, who recognized this, but I figured if you don't know what a floppy disk is, you were either asleep in the 90s, or you were living under a rock, or you were not born yet. The last one I can understand, but the first two, I don't know. The name floppy disk, floppy disk is pretty simple. It's really just a plastic disk. Like I said, we all recognize this. The image of a floppy disk is a universal image for saving as well. So most of the time when you see a save button, it looks like a disk like this. But the first floppy disk looked like this. It's quite a thin plastic sheet that you can literally wave around like this, and you can imagine it going back and forth, which is not quite safe if you have important data saved on that thing, because inside it was that magnetic field that your data was stored on. And that's why it's called a floppy disk, because it was quite floppy. And the newer iterations of that was a bit more sturdier, just carried the name on, and that's how it stayed. So that's how we have floppy disk. And now I want to talk about a term in software, or in mostly software, but also games, game development. Game is also a software, called Easter eggs. It's inspired by Easter egg hunts done by kids. And the concept is pretty simple. They are features part of a software or game. They're not really, like, no one tells you it's there, you sort of have to find it out yourself. And they're pretty fun when you do. One of the first programs that had an Easter egg hidden into it is this adventure video computer system game program by Atari. I don't recall this, it's probably really old. And the Easter egg was this. It states there, created by Warren Robinett. That's one of the developers of the game. And at that time, developers didn't get credit for all the work they used to do. And so they started finding ways to hide their names into the game or into the software. And when he left, Atari tried to recall all the games because they didn't have fancy continuous deployment things as we have today. It didn't really work out because it was going to cost them a lot more money to do that. So they ended up leaving it. And till this day, you still have that. I didn't play it myself, but I saw videos. People did see that, which I think is pretty cool. And if you recognize this, I don't know if you would recognize this, but this is a flight simulator in XL97, and it is triggered by, I believe, L97. Again, I have no access to XL97, but that's what I read. A lot of people could confirm this online, so it doesn't look like a flight simulator to me, so A for effort, it looks pretty good. And if you recall XL95, it gets even creepier because you had the Hall of Tortured Souls. This showed up when you were in B95 and you were requesting tech support. You would see this and you would have to wander to the halls, and then you'd see the developers crediting themselves, their pictures and the names in there. In modern day, you have do a barrel roll. If you Google that, your page literally turns a 360. If you Google in 1998, you get this screen. If you Google askew, your page literally skews, describing the actual term. And there are many, many more Easter eggs. It's actually quite fun. This was my favorite one because then you get to discover all sorts of things. And last but not least, I want to talk about the reason why we're all here. I did my research, and by research I mean I sent Stefan an email asking him, what does CINQ really mean? Why did you come up with the name CINQ? And as some of you would guess, I think we would already know how this story went down. The name came up when the founders had a glass of beer. It's well, that's what they said. It said één. 1 or 5. It started with the letter Q. I think it was because of its aesthetic features. And then I think they went on, had fun, came up with the name CINQ. But then when people started working for CINQ, people started asking them, what does CINQ mean? So they went back to their drawing boards and came up with a couple of meanings for CINQ. First one, CINQ is synchronized. I think that sounds quite, phonetically makes a lot of sense. Apparently, CINQ means luck and prosperity in Chinese. So if you speak Chinese, can you please confirm? I couldn't confirm that, but I thought it's pretty cool. It also could mean continuous integration and quality. And do you know what 5 is in French? CINQ. Because CINQ was on the 5th floor, I think, when they first started, right?
Yeah, this building 5th floor.
Oh, this building 5th floor. See? That's confirmed.
But we also were before this building.
Another.
The other building that didn't even have 5 floors.
So yeah, well, I still think it's quite fun that he shared all these different ideas behind CINQ. And to end, I want to share an early memory of CINQ before we all started.
That's the building I was mentioning.
Yeah, with a whole different logo. And and that's pretty much it. I'm gonna end now by saying thank you guys for listening to my talk. I didn't prepare for questions, so if you have any, I don't think so.
Are there any concept that didn't make the list? So, were there more things you were thought about? Sorry, are there any?
Ik had Bluetooth, maar dat was ook, ja, ik wist niet of het een beetje duidelijk was. Iedereen denk. Ik had wel een paar nog. Bijvoorbeeld framework, waarom heet het framework in plaats van iets anders? Nou, ik weet het niet, want ik heb niet uitgezocht. Nee, maar, oh ja, best wel tijd, ja. Nou, that's it.